My name's Wade Davenport. I'm on the side that's against it, but I have a couple of questions since we have TWRA here. Why they have 44,000 acres in one track? I see. Why can't they move the shooting thing to TWRA? Can you answer that? We've asked that question. We can't get a clear answer.
We're not in the business of running shooting ranges. We provide the funding for it and the mechanism for it, but we don't. That's why we didn't want to own the land. That's why the nonprofit was formed. Because TWRA doesn't want to fund it.
We just need to use the land. We don't. We'll run it. We just need to use the land.
We can't give land away. we sell for dollars. It's the contracts that.
But if you don't want to have it, why would you think everybody else would want it in their front yard?
It's not a problem. It's not the question. We don't want to have it. It's just the process.
On your property.
The property owners
want it too. We just don't live in their backyard.
Hey, we want it. We want it. Cumberland County is a big county.
Trust me, I've got 600 acres in Fentress County. I'd love to have a $5 million project on my place. This is phase one.
Okay.
Everyone we built spent $5 to $7 million. I'd love to have it on my property. I'd donate it tomorrow. But it doesn't match the criteria.
Okay. The next thing is, a year or two ago, you went and tried to give a grant money to Shorty Barnes Road. Is that correct?
I'm not familiar with the project. Mr. Clary might know.
You never went and consulted. I think somebody did, and their charter wouldn't let them. So there was money available 2 years ago. Now there's money available this year, and there's money coming in every year from that funding. Correct?
Getting Robertson money is.
There's a lot of it. Correct?
Every time you buy a firearm or ammunition, that money goes into a fund.
In your contract 1A-2, would you explain to everybody if
I don't know what the contract says. I didn't write it.
Have you seen a copy of the contract?
A-1-2 or what?
Yes. It's got a repayment schedule. So if the club goes broke, is it a fair question to ask who's on the hook for paying back the money for the $2.3 million?
I'm not qualified to answer that.
Ooh.
Who's on the contract?
The nonprofit would be, if it goes up in 20 years, if that's what it's signed, and it's not what it's signed, it's just the draft.
Well, their contract says they get the land back if it doesn't turn into a shooting club, correct?
That's the agreement between them. This is just the grant agreement for Fish and Wildlife for the club.
Who ends up with the land?
Between county and city. We have nothing to do with the land, we're just providing funding.
Who's on the hook for the money? The city or the county?
The nonprofit, obviously, whoever's running.
So the city's clear.
Yes,
You're 100% sure.
that's what it says on the contract.
Yeah, but the land's being put up as the 25% match.
Land lease.
It's a lease. The appraisal of the property.
I thought it was a purchase for $1. It's a purchase for $1.
Well, the collateral is
It's a purchase for $1.
discussed as a lease. The United States Department of Interior.
Now I'm even confused. We were selling the land for $1. We're selling.
Yeah, to limit our liability.
Okay, if it's a land sale, it's not a lease if you're selling it for $1.
Where are we going?
Yes.
No.
Order.
Okay. There's a 20-year payback on the money. Are you aware of that? If they go broke.
Mr. Davenport, you're talking about the TWRA's contract with the nonprofit group.
Correct.
And we're talking,
And we're trying, and I'm asking the question, if they go broke, does TWRA get the land does the city or who is responsible for paying it back?
I think that agreement, Wade, says that whoever assumes and takes over the shooting part.
And it's not real clear.
Can I make one comment here? And granted, this is the first time I've read this, but it says, notwithstanding the contract terms in Clause B, if the grantee ceases to operate the shooting range and classroom at any time during the 20-year period after completion of construction, the grantee please repay the cost to the state for the initial costs, which would be the state's money. And if you use it one time, that just fulfilled that contract. Once it's built and it's used one time, it says
I don't think that's right.
at any time during the 20-year period. So that all they can do is operate it.
That would be probably some discussion for some lawyers if it comes up. This is the United States Department of the Interior's letter. The United States Fish and Wildlife Service has reviewed your proposal to use the lease value of the land at Cumberland County Shooting Range as a match for the Federal Hunter Education Fund. The proposal is premised on using the lease value of the land over a 20-year life of the project. The land was appraised to determine the total value, blah, 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 blah. We're talking about the lease value, but there's no lease. We're just saying that it's worth a lease value if it were leased.
Mr. Mayor, I think the correlation is there's a 20-year life on the park and there's also a 20-year life on the lease, so they correlate.
Well, the main thing I want to tell you is this. Nobody is against the shooting park. They're just against the location. And if any of you was sitting right, went and worked all your life and bought land, I don't think you'd want a shooting park to be across from your property. And I mean, you know, if it's okay, maybe we can move it out to the airport with all that extra land out there and put it out there.
Yeah, but we can't do that.
How come?
You've been told that it's tied to that piece of property. You can apply for another grant, but that doesn't mean you're going to get it.
But we can apply for another one, right?
Right. So we can throw this 2.2 million away and hope that we might get something down the road. That's what it boils down
But
to.
that
the way I look at
that
it.
is an option, right?
Yes, it is. Yes, sir.
I'm Tom Pelfrey, and I don't live close to it, don't have anything involved with it, but I would really love to see our town, our county grow. The economics of this thing looks like it's got some real possibility. We got ballparks that we've spent money on and to draw people into town. I don't see a big problem with it. I used to live between the racetrack and the airport over in Pomona. And I'll promise you both of those things make a lot more noise than this gun range will. And I've somehow survived. You know, and I didn't have any problem selling my property. As a matter of fact, I think possibly the property values around that area might increase with this thing. I'm thinking. Of course, I'm not no genius on that, but also, I'd like to say, without progress in our community, without progress in our nation, we wouldn't have airports. If everybody objected to every little piece of ground, we wouldn't have an airport. We wouldn't have power lines running through our yards, and we wouldn't have interstate highways running up down to them. I mean, they impacted somebody negatively every project that goes along. And if it wasn't for us taking the initiative to do these things, we'd still be riding wagons and using coal oil lamps, you know? So the amount of people this negatively affects looks to me like it's small to the restaurants and the hotels and the traffic comes in here. These people that come in here are going to come in mobile homes. They call them RVs. They're gonna come in here and stay in the hotels, they're gonna eat in our restaurants, they're gonna buy gas. Maybe one of them might say, hey, this is a great place to live, buy a house or build a house, you know? I just think this is an opportunity that we shouldn't pass up, you know? But without progress, we wouldn't have electricity, we wouldn't have airports, we wouldn't have the interstate. And I don't think the sound will be too much. By the time they get those windmills over on the mountain over there, I don't think you're gonna hear this gun range.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir, Mr. Striker.
Thank you, Mayor, for letting me speak. And I've listened to a lot of, and it sounds, you know, first thing I need to say, there isn't a person on Albert Fry Road that is opposed to a shooting club. What we're opposed to is the location of the shooting club. My son and I happen to own the adjacent property, 4,000 feet adjacent property line with the city property belongs to my son and I. We have worked diligently to rehab a cabin that's on that property. Maybe this doesn't have any bearing, I don't know, but I think it needs to be said. And we're to the point where it's ready to be marketed again. The interesting thing, and Mayor Carey alluded to the fact that there was I'm sorry, I don't know the proper terminology, but there were shooting stations through the woods. We tried to calculate with the help of Google what 3 of those shooting stations are distance-wise from the home that we have worked part-time diligently for the past almost year and a half to complete. 3 of those stations are within 200 yards of the house. Now, granted, maybe the stations can be moved a little bit. I don't know. Because all I'm going by is what I have seen on paper. Again, I just want to mention, we're not opposed to a shooting park. We think it's a great thing for the county. It mystifies me, and I have not heard a reasonable answer why this park could not be put in Catoosa. Also, Tom Pelfrey and I are kind of friends, so I'm going to state this. Out in the hall, when we were coming in, I was talking to Tom, and we were talking about, and he thinks it's a good idea. I think it's a good idea. I says, Tom, you got 1,000 acres out here south of town. Why don't you take and donate a couple of 100 acres? It wouldn't hurt anybody. Well, that went over like a lead balloon. But anyhow, you know, and I also think that out off of Lantana Road, the old city or county landfill, which is a huge site, to me, the people in that area, I don't know if there's anybody that lived close to that landfill. I don't know. I have been out there recently. But, you know, again, the other day, Saturday it was, my son and I just got through working on the house, and we're getting ready to leave, and we were sitting there talking a little bit, and all of a sudden I hear this bang, 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 and I said, wait a minute, somebody's shooting over there. So I had to go around the back of the house, and Darren says to me, he says, no, Dad. He says, somebody's taking down the old building down the road from us. Now, this old building is probably 300-400 yards away from us. They're out there with a hammer on a piece of metal. And it sounds like it was in our backyard. My point here is that that building was closer to Mr. Clyde over here, Bowman, than it was to us. You know, our biggest concern is the noise and the traffic. I don't know whether this body is aware of the fact or not, but the right-of-way down there to that property, city right-of-way, or county right-of-way, excuse me, is only 30 feet wide. Now, I think according to the contract that if sewer is needed, the city would provide it. The road, I measured it today, is about 16 feet wide. That road right now, if you were to take and have a truck of any size go down that road and try to pass it, you almost have to stop. Somebody has to stop so you can wiggle past one another. You know, these are things that folks, I feel as though the city, TWRA can't give away land at Catoosa, but the city is giving away 146 acres for $1. It doesn't make any sense. I'm sorry. I'm not opposed to a shooting club. My grandson shoots in the club. He might get mad at me. I don't know. If it does, it does. But I'll take care of that. But my point being is that there needs to be found another location, plain and simple, to put that park. And I'll even donate to help put it in there. You know, it's just a tough situation. I understand the stress that you folks are under. It's a lot of pressure, and I certainly don't envy you. I know a lot of these folks out here are in favor of it. I can understand that. Just because I don't shoot doesn't mean that I'm not in favor of it. I want to be very clear. I'm in favor of a shooting park. I'm just opposed to the location as everybody else is on that part. And another point I want to bring up. Mr. Cantrell was here a week ago and spoke to this. And I just want to remind you, the plans for that property at this moment is to put in an assisted living area in there, which will employ, by his own words, somewheres in the vicinity of 100 people. Now, the shooting park is going to have a couple of part-time people, maybe a full-time person, I'm not sure. I think that's yet to be determined. But an assisted living area that close will not happen. I mean, it's just a matter of facts. Older folks couldn't take the stress of all that gunfire going on. But so you're putting in jeopardy the possibility of a senior assisted living facility if you were to go forward and reverse your decision of last week, that seniors assisted living facility will more than likely not happen. And the reason why it hasn't happened, I think Miss Sally knows a little bit about it. Mrs. Brown, the trust is that property has to stay as it is until she passes, and she's 92 years old as we speak, and in assisted living. So consequently, just some more points that I just thought somebody had to get up here and defend those guys that. And I thank Wade for helping me. Thank you.
Thanks, Sheriff.